John and Ollie onto the stage so they can continue the conversation about AI across the entire customer journey. Hello, dudes.
What's going on? How are you?
Thanks for joining. I'm gonna let you guys take it away.
Awesome. What's going on? John, long time no chat.
I know. We both decided to wear hats today.
You know, I didn't have the hair for television ready, so
me neither.
My hat. I love everyone's like background so far. I'm feeling pretty bad about myself, you know, on the New York sports and all that stuff. But
no, looks great.
So maybe I'll kick us off here just really quickly. My name's Ollie. I'm the head of agency partnerships here at Attentive. Been with Attentive for just about 2 years. Prior to Attentive, I worked at HubSpot for 12 years, led the solution and agency partner program there. So spent the last 2 years really learning the D2C ecosystem, understanding the needs of brands, and really cultivating partnerships with agencies that we think are the best in the ecosystem. And I've been really just so pumped to have the opportunity to get to know John and the Avex team. And I think as we pursue our goal of ensuring that clients work with agencies that can drive the transformation necessary and help brands really grow through the current circumstances, it's agencies like Avex who've really stood out to us here at Attentive. I know John can give you his own background, but one of the reasons why we picked John is not because of his thought leadership on AI and LinkedIn and how we can reduce the amount of noise there, but also how he's thinking about incorporating AI into the full customer lifecycle. So really excited to hear his unique perspective. I've got some good questions for him, and maybe we can touch on how to reduce the AI slop on LinkedIn as well if we have time. So.
Yes, lots of slop. But yeah, I'm John Sertikowski. I'm the founder and CEO at Avex. I've been growing the agency for about 10 years now, give or take, and I've been in the digital space for a little over 20. So super excited to talk about AI and Attentive and e-commerce in general.
For sure. So I'm going to kick us off and get right into it. You have been in e-commerce for how long? Over what, 20 years plus at this point?
No, I'm not that old. I am kind of old, but I've been in digital for about 20 years, but I shifted over to doing more and more e-com in like 2015, and then, more focused on Shopify and working with some great brands on that platform, probably closer to like 2016, 17, and been exclusively Shopify since then.
Awesome. Well, obviously you've seen a bunch of different, technological advancements that have changed how, brands go to market. And obviously we're in kind of one of the biggest fundamental changes with the introduction of AI. So I'm curious, from your vantage point, how do you think AI has really changed the way brands think about the customer journey compared to even like 2 years ago?
Yeah, exactly. And I've definitely seen a bunch of shifts over the last like 20 years or so. I think a lot of us have. And in my experience, having a design and development background, those shifts could have been when I was big into Flash animation. That changed a lot in web development and web design, and then responsive design and mobile, and all of these things came out, Web 2.0, et cetera. And it always changes not only the work that we're doing, but it also changes the customer journey. And I would say like 5 years ago, many of the brands that we work with, and even throughout the past, few years too, the focus was working to optimize for certain touch points, right? Today with AI, especially the brands that are adopting it a bit early, we're starting to see the need to optimize the entire customer journey, right? So think more predictive and contextual instead of reactive. So a lot of the AI, especially when it comes to customer journey and personalization, was very, very reactive. And now it's more about the specific moments in the customer journey. And AI lets you tailor those interactions based on where the customer is emotionally and even not just demographically, right? Or personalization in AI and the customer journey. We used to leverage it for things like, just product recommendations based off of where they've been, right? Or their birthday, their name, their location, things like that. And now we're moving away from the reactive marketing and looking instead of looking at what customers did, we're starting to get more proactive and marketing that predicts what they're going to do next. So that's the more of a shift that we've seen because AI has been in a lot of the tools that we use for some time now, but it's accelerating so much faster. So we're starting to see what that true personalization could look like, and really optimizing the customer journey and what brands could do in the near future.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I'm curious, just as you're talking to your clients, what are those conversations like? Is it you introducing AI and how it can fit in? Are they coming to you saying, hey, how should we be using AI? Are they coming in with a very particular idea of how they should use AI? Like, what do those conversations look like with a lot of your brands right now?
As much as everyone's talking about I would say most of the brands that we've worked with are not really just coming in and say we want to do AI, right? They're interested in it, but the brands that we work with are larger, so like they have to approach that with some caution and making sure that they're vetting it. Most of the time, we're leveraging AI that's already built into some of the SaaS products that we're using, whether it's Attentive or some of the other products we use, like Dynamic Yield, for example, and Rebuy, some other really great tools that have incorporated AI into their product. Shopify itself, there's AI built into some of the updates that Shopify made. So we're seeing more of like the exploration phase right now of what can be done, and then some ancillary things. So for example, for content creation, training a GPT or creating a custom GPT on the brand's tone of voice, and just making the content that it's producing more on brand, things like that, I feel like are little steps that brands can take. But the bigger things that you're going to get are usually the AI that's implemented into the SaaS products they're already using, at least right now. I think in the future that's going to change, and it's going to be brands like really doing AI driven projects, taking AI first approaches. But right now, most of the AI that we've implemented or that we work with the brands on is already in the SaaS products that they're using.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, over the last few years, we've seen everyone add agent functionality into their tool set. And I think just learning a lot about this ecosystem and, talking to brands, seeing how particular they are about their brand voice, knowing that like they're trying to build their own really unique community. They're trying to make sure that their marketing matches the products that they're actually selling.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious, if we break down the funnel a little bit on the acquisition and awareness front, like we're essentially telling these brands, put a lot of trust in us to oversee the technology that's powering these one-to-one conversations with your customers and prospects. So if we were to look at the top of the funnel and talk about acquisition, how are you helping brands use AI to better identify and target their ideal customers more effectively? And like, how are you making sure that they're putting their trust in not only you, but in this technology that's generating its own unique experience for each prospect and each customer?
Yeah, of course. Great question. And AI is starting to take the guesswork out, especially when it comes to, um, you know, where we think about lookalike models and like lookalike audiences and things like that. I think we're going to keep moving further away from that and evolving more into the next likely buyer models, right? So not only understanding who that customer is and who might their other customers be, but the next likely buyer, and being a lot more intentional with that. So that's something that we've been putting more attention and focus on, and really thinking about it from the side of like AI taking some more guesswork out of both marketing and on-site experience and the full customer journey. And it's really about going beyond just audience size and moving closer to that audience intent. So not just who might buy, but who's ready to buy, which I think is really important when we start to really dig into this, right? Not just who's in the ICP or who's the ideal customer, but like who's our ideal customer who's like their next step is ready to buy. And I think AI is going to help with a lot of those things outside of just creating lookalike audiences or taking some guesses there. And the early adopters and the brands that are adopting and getting into AI, or they're letting AI change creative. They're letting, it get involved in targeting. Where A/B testing might be a bit more manual, you're going to start to see A/B testing become more predictive and change on its own, and have AI agents essentially running these A/B tests for you, or creating additional audiences to target and being a lot more intentional, which I think is going to be a tool for marketers to be able to use, especially in probably in the next 6 to 12 months, getting more and more in depth with leveraging those tools and doing more for our clients than we were, and just moving faster. So I think that's going to be really great, especially for acquisition and awareness.
For sure. Great answer. And I know even, at Attentive with our AI Grow product, we're letting our model run even personalized, opt-ins. And I think the trust piece is really important. And I know as an agency, part of, over getting your clients to buy in is you need to believe in it too. And relinquish a little bit of control to say, hey, we're going to let this system like figure out how to best capture potential customers. And I'm curious, like when you have that conversation, the client's bought in, how do you then kind of show them that it's working? Like, how do you talk to them about the results that AI is delivering on the acquisition side of things, and then how you're going to maybe iterate, do more of what's working, cut out less of what's working?
Yeah, I mean, I think it just ties into everything else that we're doing, right? It's not like we speak with brands and say, "Hey, we're doing this AI initiative, and there's this separate campaign that's AI," and that it's part of it's a tool in a tool belt to be able to use it and do the things we were already doing, right? And that is showing our clients results, whether it's through retention marketing or for on-site experience, conversion rate optimization, really helping to just move faster and deliver more effectively and efficiently. So far, we haven't really looked at like the specific metrics that are tied to like one AI initiative, right? Because these tools are built into various or AI is built into various tools that they're using, and we see it as just something that's helping to accelerate time to value and accelerate the ROI, rather than something that is like a separate measurable initiative that we're doing, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. And I know we're talking a lot about AI changing the experience for marketers. I'm curious to get your perspective on the flip side as a consumer. Like, how is AI going to change my buying experiences? Like, how am I going to buy more intelligently with AI? Am I going to know, that I'm using AI to assist with my purchasing decisions? Curious to get your perspective on kind of outside of
Yeah.
the, circle we're talking about now, like as a consumer.
So I know this conversation is about AI, and I wouldn't say that I'm an AI maximist or maximalist is by any means. And especially when it comes to the on-site experience. And I have an opinion. Maybe I'll go off on a little bit of a tangent, but
Yeah.
I actually posted about this the other day too on LinkedIn. But I tried ordering something, or I was looking for something that I needed, and I literally was able to make 2 taps and buy it from Amazon, and it was in my house hours later. I don't know how much easier it gets than that. I really don't. I want to. AI is a really big, and it's going to change a lot. And anyone who could predict what it will is probably lying and just guessing. So it's just going to be a guess. But like, how easy are we trying to make searching for certain products? And I think when it comes to customer behavior, it takes a lot longer than the tech or e-commerce community introducing a new technology, especially if it changes customer behavior that much. It's not like in 2 months everyone's going to be using agents and everyone's just sitting on their couch and agents are shopping for them. I think some people will adopt that early, but the mass changes, I don't see the customer journey like massively changing in the near term. I do see AI helping brands and practitioners in the background dramatically and changing our business and changing our brand's business. But when will the customer journey be really impacted by AI? I think that's TBD on a new device that has to come out, because the device I have in my pocket is a supercomputer that could get me a product really quickly. And I even, messed around with AI a bit to search for a new guitar for me, right? I gave it specific parameters, it searched, and now it could like use an agent to essentially add it to a cart and give you a link. It searched for about 15 to 20 minutes, and that I put the same prompt into just Google search, and it was the first result that came up. And I would have been able to check out a lot easier without that agent. So I think we're far away from like people just typing and telling agents what to do and learning about them and going out and buying on their own. So I don't know what it looks like from like after that, but it could be really dramatic. And I think what we're going to see is, how do we respond to the customers' wants and needs and how they're treating it, right? Because social commerce came out so long ago, and that hasn't been a huge dramatic shift. There's a lot of things that came out. VR headset, Apple invested a lot of money in that, and it was supposed to be the next big thing. And so is metaverse. We have to see what the customers say and what they want too, because like it's their journey, right? They're the ones going through it. I don't necessarily need it. I don't know if you do. But I would say that right now in the near term, it's going to really help with product discovery. It's going to help with more of that true one-to-one personalization. And I see that's how it's changing. But the best technology is going to go in the background. You're not going to see it, right? That's where it's going to really impact the customers and going to go, oh, that's AI.
Right. And it sounds like from your point of view, like what AI is going to change in terms of the customer experience is a more discerning consumer that can quickly get more information on their buying decision and be more informed when they go to make a purchasing decision, which means as an agency and as a brand, you need to really ensure that you are matching the right content to the right person at the right time, and that your offers are strong, and that your products are being represented, effectively. Because we're all just armed with more information that we can get even faster now. And I think this is probably a good segue to talk a little bit about that supercomputer that's in your pocket that we're looking down at all the time. So when we think about AI, when it comes to driving messaging, SMS and email, curious to know, like, how do you make sure that this AI model is delivering the right person with the right offer at the right time? Like, what is, like, anyone can turn on AI, but AI is only as good as the foundation of your entire data architecture, your e-commerce platform, all the tools in your technology stack that are being used to aggregate that data and to power this personalization for your customers. So, curious to get your point of view of how do we make sure that AI can deliver the right message at the right time to in the right channel, whether it's email or SMS.
I think today we're going to be looking at AI as more of that like traffic controller, for lack of a better term, where like routing the right signal through SMS and email or push even, right? Not only on behavior, but also the likelihood to engage. Like it's going to understand much deeper, and it's starting to understand who that next buyer is, or which channel is going to be the most effective, not for your consumer base, but for that specific customer. And I think that's one of the biggest benefits of leveraging newer technology like AI is getting closer and closer to that like true personalization, or treating, every SMS that you send out to not to a broad audience, but more to that one-to-one person. But that can't be done at scale, and AI is going to allow you to do that at scale. So it's really going to allow brands to know when not to send something and who not to send it to, which I think is just as important as knowing when to send, right? So I think the right time and the right person or the right customer is what AI is going to help support, especially when it comes to SMS, because looking at SMS, it's that VIP channel, right? And if you could have more of that one-to-one personalization and communication with your customers at scale, that's going to be a game changer for really, really improving that experience and the return on investment that brands see.
For sure. No, I'm totally makes sense. And I'm curious to just maybe like drill into this a little bit more for those that, are brands in the room today. Like you do a lot of amazing work with not only replatforming commerce platforms, with making sure that a brand's commerce platform is optimized and working correctly. What are some of the fundamental elements that you focus on when you are helping someone think about, a replatforming or fixing
Mhm.
their existing commerce platform that ensures that AI that's powering messaging like SMS and
Mhm.
email are going to be as powerful as possible? Like, how do you make sure the commerce platform on the back end is really doing its job so that a company like Attentive is really able to drive that one-to-one personalization with our platform?
Yeah, exactly. And I think it all comes down to data, right? Especially during a platform migration. If we're considering either a retention marketing platform migration or an e-commerce platform migration, the biggest things that we run into is like things like the product architecture, the data. How do we have to clean it up? What does it look like when it comes over? And also just like the change management. So if you're migrating from any platform one to another, there's going to be a lot of change management that I think a lot of brands underestimate how much changes internally, how much time you have to dedicate, because you're talking about changing processes and systems and documentation. And we help a lot with that change management, but making sure that the data is really buttoned up and making sure that you have that strong foundation in a platform. And, you know, everyone has access to the same tools. So everyone on Shopify, from the brand that's doing, $1 million a year, all the way up to the brand that's doing, $1 billion a year. Everyone has the same access to those tools. It's a matter of how you use them and also how clean your data is, especially during that migration. You want data to be buttoned up. You want the user experience to be buttoned up, and make sure that the entire tech stack is working for you and not against you. I think that's really important to make sure you're laying that foundation not only for AI, but just to be future proof in general.
Yeah,
Because like the way we used to build, like when I was a developer a very long time ago, and writing like semantic HTML and CSS and things like that, the more you follow best practices and follow like really making sure your code was clean, more scalable it could be, whether you're changing a content management system or you have to move over to responsive design at the time and optimize for mobile. It allowed for all of those things. So making sure that that foundation is set with your e-commerce platform, and especially with the data migration, it to me is the most important thing and sometimes overlooked during that process.
for sure. I mean, the plumbing is so important, and I think it's a cautionary tale to brands before they go and buy like the fanciest AI tool in the world to make sure that like your house is in order. You've got your plumbing working because it's
Mhm.
gonna make your engagement model more personalized with your customers when you plug in a tool like Attentive. So I'm gonna actually like we can't clone me, but I think we can clone John because he's a developer. I don't have the knowledge or technology, but I feel like if I look back at the archives of LinkedIn, once a year, someone will have this really robust topic of how email is dead and it's dying,
Mm.
and it's funny to see. It's like the most divisive conversation of all time. Some people think email is a dying channel. Other people think it's you know continuing to scale and grow. And I think we can all agree it's one of the more cost effective ways that brands can drive traffic. At the same time, I think we all have to be aware of the fact that AI is going to fundamentally change email. And I think the inbox providers are thinking through this right now.
Mhm.
How do we make sure that people are not getting just bombarded with more crap, right? How do we make sure that AI is not powering more messages to go out to more people and people are tuning out really important emails? And I think email is probably going to go through a very similar change to what SEO did in 2013 when Google announced their Penguin update saying, hey, we're not going to focus on page SEO anymore. It's going to be the relevance so that someone can search for something and not find something that has no meaning to what they just searched for, just because someone packed a bunch of keywords on their website. So love to get your take on how, the current state of email, what your thoughts are there, and like, how is AI going to change email? Because I think that's a
Mhm.
really important thing for us to spend some time on.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm glad you brought up the SEO analogy, because and that's spot on. We've actually seen a lot of success on the agency side coming up more and more in search. Well, in AI chat GPT results, right? Because our SEO was really buttoned up and we never really went with like black hat tactics or like, keyword stuffing. So I think it's really important to set that foundation. And we're going to see that with email. And we're starting to see it today with Gemini and using Gmail and how they're segmenting things. And it's going to get really good at cutting out the noise for clients or for customers. And I'm starting to see it. My inbox is, not the best it's ever been, but it's definitely cleaner than it was some other times with the organization. So the same way that you with SEO, where you don't follow bad practices, you have to do the same thing with email and SMS. So AI is really helping to chip away at the silos there. I look at SMS as like not just like a channel to blast things out, right? An email shouldn't just be just your newsletter or just promotional. I try to look at SMS being more of your red carpet and not a megaphone. It's that VIP channel that you want to have more of that one-to-one communication with. It's different from your email channel. You can't just copy and paste them both. When it comes to email, I definitely don't think it's dead by any means. I mean, like you said, everyone says that once a year, twice a year for the past 10 years, and it's not. But email should help really tell a story, whereas SMS is that VIP channel. And I think AI is going to make SMS and email feel more like a unified channel and a single conversation across not just email and SMS, but push and others. So the better we as marketers and brands get at looking at those different channels and making it that singular conversation, and AI is going to help with that, I think that's going to help those emails get into inboxes and in the right place, right? And not categorize the wrong way or have AI market as spam. I do think that we're probably going to see people unsubscribing a bit more because I think AI is going to make it easier to identify the brands and emails that you're not engaging with. So you're going to be able to opt out probably a little quicker and identify those. And there's tools that could help you do that now too for the customer. But that's a good thing because you're going to opt out of things that they probably weren't interested in and keep the ones that they are. So I think email is going to become even more important because we're going to be far more intentional. AI is going to give us a way to do that. And it's also going to empower the customer to be able to cut through the noise and get to really what they want. So I think maybe it won't be as much volume, but it's definitely going to have more of an impact on brands' bottom line. And I think they're just going to get better experience for the customer.
For sure. I love how you tied it together to like the fundamentals. And I think to your point, like, you're doing a really good job on SEO. That's only going to help you in the new medium when someone's searching for something in ChatGPT, right? Same thing with email. Now I don't even have to open my email to get an AI summary of that email. So if you're focusing on the fundamentals, deliverability, authentication, content quality, relevance, the person that's actually looking at the email AI summary is going to say, oh, this is relevant to me. And I think instead of trying to solve for AI and that summary, you focus on the fundamentals, and that helps you in that other kind of medium, right? So I really
Precisely.
You said that. Now, I'm sure there's a little bit of buzz, and maybe some of you have heard about Yotpo and how they sunsetted their SMS and email products and named Attentive as their new preferred partner. So would love to just hear your take on that. Since we're talking about messaging platforms and AI and all that stuff, would just love your unfiltered take on what are your thoughts? What's the take here?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we've seen technology companies have to shift, right? We've seen businesses in general have to shift, and Yotpo did just that, right? They want to shift and focus on more of their core product, and they took a really big swing and put a lot of effort into it, and it's very competitive. But now they're shifting, and I think brands need a new home, and there's a bunch of options out there. And I think Attentive is a really, really solid choice when it comes to email and SMS, and really help supporting merchants, especially some of the largest brands out there. I think that there's competition is really good, and it helps everyone fine tune their product. It's unfortunate that, brands need to find a new home, but, we're doing everything that we can to help support those brands and move them over to the right platform that works for their business. But yeah, I mean, I think it's good for the ecosystem that, tech companies are trying different things and really want to expand their offering. And honestly, it sounds like a really great idea to have an all-in-one marketing solution with all of those things integrated. But like, email is very difficult, SMS is very difficult, and you have to be really focused on those channels to really deliver value when it comes to tech products. And I think that I think it's going to work out well for all of the brands in the long term.
For sure.
And I think it was a really, really huge initiative that they tried to take on, and I give them a lot of respect for doing that.
For sure. I very well said. And I think, definitely admire Yapo for taking a stance and like doubling down on what they do very well. And yeah, I do feel like just the ecosystem's competitive, and brands need to really think about which platform can solve their needs right now. And I guess just the follow-up question to that. So obviously timing is never ideal for these kind of moves, but it's August 20th, which means you are all probably done with your BFCM planning. So to then have to potentially switch platforms can be, challenging. So like, what are you advising brands to think about now as they maybe are evaluating new SMS and email platforms?
Mm-hmm.
And how do you help as an agency, as Avex, during such a high stake time going into BFCM?
Yeah, I mean, top of mind for us right now is supporting our existing clients and making sure that they're set up for success, making sure that they have everything they need. But it's, still in summer right now, and we're talking about, holiday shopping, which I always think is crazy. But, we have to plan ahead. We still get a lot of requests this time, and every other agency knows it's kind of like an inside joke. Usually September, October, November rolls around and you're asked to do a massive migration to another platform before Black Friday with like 3 weeks to go. So those come in, can't do those. But, I think what agencies should be doing and what brands should be looking for is not just being able to provide that technical resource, but look for a strategic partner and have that strategic continuity, making sure tone and cadence flows, that they don't get disrupted, especially during a migration. Now is the time where, especially if you're coming from a platform that's sunsetting like Yotpo, you need to be able to make sure that those are buttoned up. So the technical side and the tactical things, yeah, of course, that's table stakes and that has to be there. Get your data over. But if you want to be set up for success, especially for Black Friday, all of those things as far as brand tone, the cadence of the flows, everything has to be really, really buttoned up for that. But even more importantly, once January hits and all of those customers that got gift cards or they got cash for the holidays, and they're going to be spending and buying, or those new customers that you got during Black Friday, you need to put them into the right flows and make sure all of that is buttoned up so you could capitalize on those new customers. So I think from now until, January, February, it's a really important time, especially if you're considering that retention platform migration.
For sure. Well said. I know we're probably at time. I was just...
Yeah. But before you go, John, because you guys were talking about SEO, I want to ask you a question. And I do want to double back on what you were saying about AI and email. Mm-hmm. So just the other day, Google email, like I was able to like easily just select the emails I wanted to unsubscribe to, and it automatically sends a message for me. And I've unsubscribed to like 100 different lists that I didn't want. Yeah. So it's already here is the point. Yeah. And like all of your points about you need to be able to like jump out of the inbox and I just summarized it into that jump out of the inbox in a smarter way is how brands should be thinking about it. But I still love the point. The other point the question I want to ask you before you hop off, there was a question at the beginning of today where somebody had said that they really wanted to learn about AI and SEO. And granted, you guys were talking a lot about it, but one of the things that we weren't talking about is like, what suggestions would you give a brand to optimize for SEO in AI so that they do pop up in ChatGPT, like they do pop up in these other places for AI to suggest their products? Like,
I think that if you try to spin your I think if brands try to spin the wheels trying to optimize for AI, they're going to go crazy and maybe waste a lot of money. Creating really good content that is aligned with the subject matter, that adds value, and making sure that the technical things are buttoned up, right? You have to make sure everything's following best practices. Your site is fast. I know that they have like the LLM.txts that you could start using, OpenAI, even there's like a wait list. You should sign up for it right now to be able to submit your website to OpenAI for search. So I think that there's easy, low-hanging fruit that you could do now, but long-term, create really good content. I know it sounds cliche, but Google has been saying it for so long. If you read Google's guidelines on creating best content for SEO, it does not talk about like all of the tricks and tips. It really boils down to creating really good content that aligns with the subject matter that people are going to like. If you do that, you're going to show up in AI, because AI is going to be even smarter than the search engines. So if you start to do things that are try to like, game the system, you're probably never going to show up on it. So I don't think that there's like, it sounds like easy, but it's also really hard to create really great content all of the time. But that's the thing. That's my recommendation.
Yeah, no, I love it. I think that those are really good recommendations. Like I noticed in Google searches, all of my content was showing up. Now I'm optimizing for it. So I appreciate that one too. All right, dudes. Well, Ollie, John, thank you so much for joining. It was so informative. And I'm kicking you off stage.
Thank you.
Have a good time.